On May 25, 1992, I was scheduled for 3:30 p.m. gallbladder surgery. My hospital stay was to be 23 hours. My parents drove me to the hospital around noon and told me they had a few errands to run, and they would be back before surgery. I checked in and was taken to a hospital room to wait. At around 1 p.m., the nurse came in and said they were going to take me to surgery early, because they had a cancellation. It was Friday and the doctors wanted to leave early. Neither my parents nor son knew I was going to go into surgery early, as I could not reach them. To prepare me, the medical team gave me something that would relax me. My family doctor, who was assisting the specialist, came in to see me and tell me he was there. The next thing that happened was unbelievable. I felt like I was being sucked out of my body faster than words can't explain. There is not anything on this earth that can explain how fast this all happened. First, there was an incredibly bright light. Since seeing that light, I wear glasses full-time, as I cannot see without them. When I was finally able to adjust my eyes to the light, I looked around and I was in a beautiful area that was huge, maybe 5 to 8 football fields in size. The grass was all green, the area smelt of roses and other flowers, and there were rows of people being greeted by other people's spirits that had died and gone before us. I looked to my right and to my left, then I looked in front of me, and there were all my relatives and friends that had died, standing in the order they had died. For example, my grandfather Lupe was the first person I remember dying. He died in 1955 when I was 10 years old. So he was the first person in line on the left side. These were only people that I loved and cared about deeply that had passed on before me. On the right side was my grandmother. She passed on in 1991 at 92 years old. She was the first person I talked to, and I asked her, "Grandma, why are you over there and not on this side with all the other people?" She was sitting in her green chair that she loved so much, and she was doing something with her hands. Possibly she was crocheting, because she loved to crochet, but had not been able to crochet in her last few years, because of her eyesight. She looked up at me and, in Spanish, my grandmother spoke very little English, told me I have a little bit more to do, then I will go with the rest of them. I turned back to my grandfather, and told him how much I had missed him and how happy I was to see him. There were about 12 people in that line. I spoke with each and every one of them briefly, but had a longer discussion with my Uncle Donald. Donald is my dad's brother who drowned June 30th, 1989. I may not be correct on the year. He was about 60 years old. I spoke with him, and he told me to give his brother Joe a message. He told me what I was to tell his brother for him. As I was getting ready to ask him another question, I looked up and saw my nephew floating above the others. He was not on the right or left, he was just floating around. I asked him, "Richard, what are you doing up there?" He answered, "It was not my time. I have to stay here until it is my time." My nephew Richard committed suicide in September 1989. I felt the hurt in my heart to know he was not able to be at peace. At that time, I felt that I wanted to be in the warmth and comfort of these family members, and I decided I was going to cross over when my grandfather put his hand up and said, "No, you can't come yet." I asked, "Why not?" He did not say a word, only looked up, and I looked up to see what he was seeing. I can't even describe what it was, but I guess in order to put it into words I would have to say in the sky, above this multitude of people spirits, was the Father, the Son and the Holy Ghost. I have been a Catholic all my life, and didn't really understand what the 3-in-1 meant, but I do now. The most peaceful feeling came over me and I realized it was our dear Lord. I told him that I wanted to stay. He said I could not. I asked, "Why not?" His reply was, "You need to go back and finish what I need you to do." I started crying, because I did not want to leave this beautiful peaceful place that I had found. He said, "Don't cry. You will see me again one more time, before you see me for the final time." Next thing I knew, I was being sucked out of this wonderful place. As I was going back, I saw my doctor thumping me in the chest and asking the Lord to help him bring me back. I asked him about that much later, and in return, he asked me how I knew that, because he has been saying that to himself, not out loud. I woke up in the intensive coronary care unit. I was to have my gallstone removed via laser. However, when they inflated my stomach, they gave me too much air and put too much pressure on my aorta. They lost me for 1 minute and 25 seconds. That minute and 25 seconds were more wonderful than my whole life has been. It was the most incredible experience I have ever had.